Saints quarterback Derek Carr out against the Green Bay Packers, probably out for the season. Time for a new era in New Orleans. Do we have a quarterback controversy brewing in New Orleans, ladies and gentlemen? The backdrop, OTB, off the bench with T-Bob, Jacob Hester. We're going to be talking Saints quarterback, the quarterback room, as some would say, in New Orleans. Interesting situation unfolding in front of us. I can give you a spoiler alert. It will not be Jae Haener starting any more games this year. Let's go ahead and break it down. Let's get into it.
We headed to 504. Our guy, Nick Underhill, Nick_Underhill from neworleans.football. Go sub to him on YouTube.
No doubt.
Site as well. I've been a proud subscriber for multiple years now. If you love the Saints, just incredible coverage and insight. Nicky, what's up, dude? How we feeling this Tuesday?
Yeah, Nicky, St. Nicholas was apparently had COVID or something. Sunday, he was watching the Saints game from home. Tweeted out that he was sick. Tweeted out that the boy had COVID, so we wish him well. Get better soon, as they say. Me, never had COVID. Never had COVID. Can't have it if you don't get tested. That's a life. That's a life lesson for you right there. If you know, I know a lot of people who frequent some seedy joints down on Bourbon Street, and that's an important life lesson, is you can't catch it if you don't get tested, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not a doctor, okay? That's not medical advice, but, you know.
Doing great, man. Doing great. How you doing?
Doing well, man. Doing well, man. What a day. What a game on Sunday. Probably the most win-feeling loss of all time. In that,
being a Saints fan, it's really unbelievable. I mean, really just like, we go from the Giants game, which was the most loss-feeling win of all time, to the Commanders game, which is the most win-feeling loss of all time. It's just, it's always interesting.
There's legitimate big morale boosting takeaways to be had. Like, you can appreciate the competitive spirit. You can get maybe a touch excited about a Spencer Rattler coming in and finding some good plays and leading such an inspired sort of final push. It speaks to Darren Rizzy and his ability to motivate a team that had every reason in the world to completely give up. It speaks to toughness, overcoming adversity, all these sorts of things. And yes, you fall short, but, draft and whatnot. So it's also not kind of the worst thing. So I came away pretty, happy, oddly enough. And it seems like in talking to most Saints fans, that's a common refrain. What was your reaction to Sunday?
Exactly the same as yours. Like, you got all the upside, all the positive stuff, and you improved your draft pick. Like, there's really no downside to it. They went from, I think, 11 to 10. I don't think anything that happened last night would have changed that. But yeah, look, I feel pretty good about Rattler, going through the film. Again, there's some stuff, kind of big play dependent a little bit, got bailed out on a couple sacks. Not perfect, but I think you saw traits. Like, that's all we're really looking for right now is traits. Like,
yeah, you want to see some kind of foundational, like, is there something there? And again, he's a 5th round rookie. You go look at Caleb Williams. I'm not going to say similar to Rattler, but Caleb Williams has not been great all the time. He's first overall, generational, one of those can't miss kind of players. So I think there's enough. Like, for a rookie quarterback, especially a guy who's played sparingly, especially with the issues that the Saints have had injury-wise and, playmaker-wise and all that stuff. Like, yeah, I think you can definitely take some positives away from Rattler. Nobody's giving him the MVP. Nobody's saying he was Josh Allen or Jared Goff out there, Lamar Jackson, but he can play. He can play in this league. There is something there, even if it's just a backup. And, That's at this point now, like, that's good that we're finding out about players. You want to find out who is part of this thing long term. Who do we have something in? Like, who do we have? Whether it's defensive players or offensive players or coaches, like, we're just trying to build the pieces, the foundation of something for this team moving forward. Who is going to be part of this thing moving forward? And if Spencer Rattler is Am I ready to say he's the franchise quarterback moving forward? No. Am I ready to say he's a starting quarterback moving forward? No. But he has something that's worth developing. And that's right now, that's good enough for me.
Like, if you flash traits and you lose, like, I don't care. I mean, there's just things that he does that are exciting, and we'll see on Monday night. I actually think the door's open, I think, for Derek Carr to be able to make his comeback, this week or next week. We'll see how it looks. I think it probably still leans a little bit towards the backup, but.
So this is before the news came out, but Carr isn't going to play the rest of the season. Like, Carr is a few weeks away, and when you're a few weeks away, when there's only a few weeks left, not a good sign. So I'm going to go ahead and guess Carr's out for the year, which means Spencer Rattler will be starting the rest of the season. There is no way in holy hell that you go back to Jae Haener.
It's going to be interesting to see how he views things. If he tries to push to get out there this week, I could definitely see it. I think the smart thing for him would probably be to not play against
them. Yeah, you don't want to play against the Packers in Green Bay on prime time. You go out there, you lay an egg, you look bad, team looks bad, that's doing you no favors. If I'm Derek Carr, I am resting up this week, letting Rattler take that, and then I'm trying to light up the Raiders, look good, and then go into the offseason.
Packers, and then come back against the Raiders and close out against the Bucks. But if he doesn't want to leave the door open for someone else, or if he's feeling good by Monday night, like, I could definitely see him playing in that game. But I hope to see Rattler. I want to see Rattler out there. I think it's going to be a really, really tough atmosphere for him. I can't imagine a harder test. They'll probably get behind early, and you won't have.
I'll tell you this, ladies and gentlemen. Let's say Spencer Rattler starts, which he will, against Green Bay. And let's say we go up there and win. And let's say he looks pretty good. All of a sudden now you guys start doing the math, and you guys start putting the puzzle together where you're like, well, damn, I mean, he's on a rookie contract, a 5th round rookie contract for a team that has some salary cap issues. The greatest thing ever for a team is being able to have your starting quarterback play on a rookie contract. So I don't know what all of it means as far as like the Derek Carr situation, like, what is the financial benefit of getting out of that contract? But if you think Rattler can be a starter, like if he goes and beats Green Bay, I think you got to have a conversation with the financial teams and say, what does it look like if we get out of this Carr contract, whether it's a June 1st thing or they do some jumping through hoops or some trickeration, and we go into this with Spencer Rattler as the starter on a rookie deal? Like, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nicey.
I have the run game to help you like it did on that 2-minute drive down the stretch, and it's going to be cold, and you're going against a pretty good defense. Like, it's an excellent test, and I want to see him do it. And if he passes it, I would hope that somebody from the top would say, hey, look, like, keep playing him. Like, let's see how this keeps going. If you're the interim head coach, I think your best chance of probably winning games is with Derek Carr, and you probably do want him out there.
Sure.
And you probably do want to try to win every single game so that you're able to go in there and just kind of drop your record on the desk and say, hey, like, I did this, like, give me the job.
But you wonder if that conversation's had, like, if Mickey, because, all right, I've been on record saying if the Saints would have beat the Commanders and Rizzy's 4-1 and you see that performance out of the team, you got to feel good about Rizzy. I've been on record saying that would be good enough to just tell him, like, hey, look, you got the job. Now, here's the follow-up question. Is it that results dependent? Do you look at the 2-point conversion and say, look, we came down to a 2-point conversion. It is what it is, but everything else stands. You got to feel good about where the team was in that game. You got to feel good about where Rattler was, all of that, even the guts to go for it on the 2-point conversion. So, in a way, if you're like, yeah, if we win that game, if you're 4-1, give them the job. What really changed? The result? Like, the one play? You're going to base yes or no off one 2-point conversion? That seems kind of crazy. So I wonder if the conversation's being had from the top where they're saying, look, play Rattler. You're the front runner for the job next year. We're going to interview other people, but right now you're the leader in the clubhouse. And, playing Rattler will not hurt you. Like we're not basing this solely on wins and losses. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's the conversation. And the more I'm kind of thinking about it, the more the Commanders game, like it really doesn't matter that they won or lost if you're evaluating Rizzy in the future. So, yeah, I mean, I'm starting to think like Rizzy might not be thinking like we have to get Carr out there because we have to win these games or I'm going to get fired. I think he might think I got a little bit of leeway here.
But the long-term interest of the team, if Rattler looks good on Monday night, I think you got to try to keep playing him. I don't suspect that we're going to feel as good as we do about him as we do today, next week when we're on here talking about it. But
maybe
I do want to see it. I just want the education. I want to see him. I want to see Kendre. I want to see Foster Moreau get more targets.
Man, true. I said that before the game. We played Foster Moreau over 1.5 catches, but before the game, we were like, why is he not getting a majority of these targets? I think Foster has been way better than Juwan, and I think Foster's been like really good this year. I think he's been kind of underrated, even through the lens of a Saints fan. And I think he deserves. I mean, I'm not going to say he deserves the Brock Bowers target share, but for a team that doesn't have weapons and a team that is this limited, I would be feeding Foster Moreau.
I think he can do a lot more. And I want to know if he can be a bigger piece of the offense going forward. And, I just want to keep seeing Rizzy make good decisions. You can hold it over his head that he started Haener last week, whatever. I mean, look, if you've watched practice, and I know no one could. So, people are just going blind. They couldn't watch training camp. Like Haener looks really good in training camp. The problem is last year he looked really good in training camp. Gets into the preseason, it's terrible. 3 picks. I don't think any touchdowns. This year looks good in training camp. Gets into the preseason, looks okay at times, but then gets into these games and it looks like he, drank a Jolt Cola and chased it with a Red Bull and he's all jittery and everything's happening too fast and there's just like there's no stableness. Okay, well, what if he starts? What does it look like? You give him a chance.
Found that out. Worst thing I've ever seen.
You find out it doesn't work. I give Rizzy all the credit in the world for having the courage to pull him at halftime and put Rattler in. That's A, saying I made a mistake. Yep. B, I'm going to go to a guy that wasn't totally prepared, but it probably gives us the best chance to win. But the downside here is incredible. And if this all blows up, I might be out right here. Like I might make a bad situation worse and be out right here. And he just did what he had to do to try to win the game. And, I think that took some gumption and courage and
I
putting people ahead of you. And you don't really know what someone is until you test them. So you test Haener, Rizzy gets tested, Rattler gets tested. And I kind of like what came out of all those tests except for the Haener equation.
Okay, so real quick housekeeping here. And I know the answer, but just real quick. So if Derek Carr doesn't play, it is Rattler.
Yeah, there is no way in hell, unless Rattler misses the plane, unless he oversleeps, isn't in Green Bay, it's going to be Rattler.
Obviously, right?
Oh, okay. God, it has to be. Like, that's not even I'm not even going to bother asking anyone.
Okay. And
total
then,
disaster. Yeah.
And then what about what's the status of Alvin Kamara?
Word on the street after was a groin. So,
He wants to play and he's going to do everything he can to play. And I suspect he's going to, what is it? You got 8 days in between games. Yeah. I suspect he's going to spend probably 70 hours on that massage table trying to figure out how to get out there and get back on the field.
Sounds nice.
I believe that he's going to take his people with him to Green Bay. I mean, I think they're going to do everything they can. I think he's, I think everything points towards him wanting and doing everything he can to play. And I'm not going to count him out until 90 minutes before kickoff on Monday. If that thing's up in the air and it hasn't already been decided, but like, I think as long as the window's open, he's going to try to do everything he can. I think it's a legitimate injury though, and I think it's going to take some work to get out there on Monday night.
And for those that haven't read it yet, one of the premier neworleans.football pieces of the year is Nick getting to really be embedded with AK and
they did a video got like it might be around 100,000 views now. So that was a strong piece of content.
View his process. It is obsessive, extensive, and you see why he still looks so good at a time in which many of his peers start to fall off at that position. And you see why maybe he could potentially play after a legitimate injury like the one that he has had. What did you think about Kendre Miller? I know you're kind of the leader of the Kendre hive, Nick.
This was Kendre's best game. I mean, the Giants won. A lot of rose-colored glasses. A lot of people were like, "Yeah, he was fantastic," when he was just kind of whatever. But this game, Kendre, I thought looked really, really good. I thought he looked really good. There was enough there to where I was like, "Yeah, I mean, he probably does deserve some touches here." And I mean, obviously, he's the backup running back, but man, and I saw some. Let me just say this: I had some people chirping, a crazy take. After the game, people were like, "You need to apologize to Kendre Miller. You said he shouldn't get any touches." I said that when Taysom Hill was healthy and Alvin Kamara was healthy. Like, obviously, Kendre should get touches. If AK is hurt and Taysom Hill is hurt, if AK is healthy and Taysom is healthy, I still stand by that, yeah, let the majority of the carries go to Alvin and Taysom. I mean, like, it's not the craziest take in the world. I think Kendre is good, but yeah, I mean, he's not Alvin and he's not Taysom, but he's better than Jordan Mims. He's better than Jamal Williams. He's got some dynamic to him, and I thought he had a good game against the Commanders.
Nick, a bad Washington rush defense to be sure, but some big plays made, some flashes for your guy.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard. Yeah, bad Washington run defense, and we got people ready to build a statue for 46 yards, so.
Yeah, I think he's a great player, man. The talent's obvious. The pass protection is brutal. Like, that has to get way better. Every Sunday, I'm like, why aren't they playing him more? And then on Monday, when I go through and watch it, I'm like, like, yeah, all right, you didn't pick up a blitz there. You let that go. Like, that has to get better. I think it will with more reps, experience, practicing, being healthy, I think would help with that. But he runs really well. I mean, yeah, it's a shot of life. And I feel that way anytime there's like a good young running back on a team. It just feels different. They feel faster. They're fresher. It's a car kind of coming like fresh off the lot. There's just like no wear and tear on it. And he looks great. I think he's a really good. I think he's a really good running back. He's really good talent. I think if he can stay healthy these next 3 games and you kind of give yourself like a, 5-game runway going into the offseason, I think he feels good about that. And then B, I think you can kind of imagine him a little bit is part of the solution going forward. Whereas coming into this year, it's like, well, they have a good player, but you can't really count on him. Should they?
Right. I agree with that. Like, this is another evaluation thing where if you get a handful of games with Kendre Miller, then you can go into next season as like, okay, he is the backup running back versus like, well, we can't make him the backup running back. He can't play. He can't stay on the field. So like now you got to wonder how much of that was Dennis Allen, how much of that was Kendre, like whatever. But yeah, he is slowly finding himself more in that role of okay, I feel good about him being the backup running back.
They draft someone else. Should they sign someone else? All those things. But yeah, I think it's important for him and for the team just to kind of see that equation of it. But yeah, I think he looks great, man.
What about the so as far as I understand, and tell me if I'm wrong here, the clock stops with 9 seconds at the end of that game Sunday, and it doesn't become the story that it would have been had the Saints won. But did I read a pool report correctly that basically the refs were like, we should have stopped it? But
yes, we did a video on this. We covered it. But yeah, they whoopsie poopsie. They stopped the clock with 9 seconds left. The referee stopped the clock, waved it off for about 4 seconds. Just a horrible mismanagement of the clock by the refs. They also messed up the end of the third quarter, which allowed the Commanders to kick a field goal. They missed it. They got another shot at kicking it. Total disaster. It can't happen. I did 20 minutes on this, so if you're interested in my take on it, the video's on the channel. But yeah, horrible stuff from the refs.
We did. Yep. So that's just the explanation?
Yeah,
yeah,
they're infallible. They have no.
I'm kind of laughing at myself. Did he just have like a college flashback?
Yeah.
He's thinking like, oh, okay, first down, stop the clock. And then like, oh, wait, no, actually.
I don't know how that even happens. Yeah, and then at the end of the first half, like they screwed that up too and let him kick the field goal like 5 seconds after the clock expired. And then that like turned into like a big thing. Rizzy's all pissed off. Like, I don't understand how this all played out. And like, that's another one of those things where, okay, if the clock runs out and they aren't able to clock it and they don't get another playoff, are we second guessing Rattler's decision to kind of throw the underneath pass there and not giving himself enough time to get another shot at the end zone? So like, there's a couple things here where you kind of go through and you're like, I don't know. Look, the management there at the end of it too, like they, I think the linebacker stayed on top of Foster for like a couple extra seconds.
I thought maybe that's why it was
Getting
stopped, right? Because can you stop it
You can throw a flag.
for something like that if you feel like the defense is intentionally delaying it?
Yes.
Like, I don't know if it was egregious, but like,
I don't think it was egregious, but you can. The refs can throw a flag. You can't just you can't hold them down.
No, there were a couple things like someone else has to run over. Like I used to have Sean Payton's rules for like the end of the game. Like I got a copy of the playbook and like they were printed out and they're like, it's just like you have to get up and run the ball back to the official. If a player isn't able to do it, someone else has to go get the ball and run it over to like that attention to the detail in those moments. And like it was maybe not quite as, put together as it should have been in that moment.
It's also a 5th round rookie. It's like a 5th round rookie operating this. You don't really know until you see those kind of things.
They got a gift though. I do wonder if the clock's running out, like, do they race to the line quicker and get that? I don't know if it could have happened faster. I watched it again. I don't think it could have.
Yeah.
So there is a little bit of bail out there, and I do wonder if that changes our perception of everything.
Yeah, I mean, but hey, look, sometimes you never apologize for good fortune. You just try to take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's too many things that happen. Like I said, the field goal, the Commanders got just as fortunate with being able to kick again. So,
and the Saints nearly took advantage of it.
And a rookie gets to learn something in that moment without actually suffering a consequence. So like that, it kind of goes with the theme of the overall.
Huge win.
The outcome is a little bit. You look at it positively. Like the downsides aren't quite there.
Nick, in terms of other elements of this team that if we want to project forward into the offseason, I'm still actually kind of amazed at what the staff is doing in terms of being so competitive with the roster that they are being forced to field. Is wide receiver actually priority number one?
It's way up there. I was just saying this on when I did the Reddit thing, but people are like, you got to draft an offensive lineman. It's like, I don't think you do. I think you got to draft playmakers. You got to have somebody. We cannot. Ladies and gentlemen, we have MVS, Cedric Wilson, and Dante Pettis. We have had Bub Means and Mason Tipton. You're going to have to go get a wide receiver. I don't care if it's the guy out of Missouri or the guy out of Arizona or whatever, but you have to go get wide receivers now. I mean, you can't roll into an NFL season with Dante Pettis, Cedric Wilson, and MVS as your 1, 2, and 3
in the offseason.
It's huge. That DN D tackle is 1, 2, but wide receiver is a massive need. I would put it way up there. I think the door is open on a lot of things where they're
it's best player available. It's BPA 100% best player available. You got a million different positions that we need. You got to get whoever you think can come in and be impactful. You got to get guys who can be Pro Bowl level players. Like you have to replicate 2016, 2017 with how good those drafts were. You have to do that again. And you got to, where is the Puka Nacua? Where is the Kyron Williams? Where is the Isaiah Pacheco? Where is the late round guys who come in? All of a sudden they're really good. You need those players. We need better interior defensive lineman, not just our interior defensive line is terrible. I mean, Brian Rizzy is a pure pass rusher playing on the inside. That's not great. We could use help in the secondary, especially at safety. We could obviously use more on the offensive line, whether it's a guard or more depth. We need wide receivers. We need tight ends. We need it all. So we need everything.
Pick them right there. I think if you're kind of like prioritize, look, cornerbacks like looking more and more like a major need too. I don't know if you bring Debo back and that solves it, but it's not trending the way you want it to trend with this exposure here, kind of going down the stretch. Both those guys, I think, have been spotty, and Alante's been more spotty than I would have expected him to. So there's a lot of high value needs right now going forward, and depending on the Carr situation, if like they were to decide to move on, quarterback could be right at the top of that list too. So there's a lot of stuff to
quarterback class got worse. Drew Aller, not that I'm a Drew Aller guy, but Drew Aller's going back to Penn State. It looks like from where I'm sitting, you're looking at, you got Shador, you got Cam Ward, and then you're kind of kind of falls off. So, and I don't think we're going to be high enough for either one of those to be a legitimate opportunity. So this doesn't look like the best quarterback class
to kind of figure out. But like, I do agree with your initial point. I think they are being incredibly competitive with a very bad roster.
Yeah.
And
hell yeah,
you know,
it's a bad roster. It's a bad roster, 100%. I mean, it is crazy how competitive we really have been at certain times this year. When you're talking about the offensive line, you know, the moving pieces we had, the wide receiver situation, the Taysom Hill situation, like trading Marshawn. I mean, this team, you talk about some practice squad level, free agent level. I was talking about it in the stands. Would Dante Pettis, would he start at Texas? I don't think he would. And that's nothing against Dante Pettis. Would Cedric Wilson be a top 2 receiver at Ohio State? I don't think he would. We are legitimately playing with playmakers and certain position groups that I don't think get a start on like Power 5 teams. And that's crazy. But it's the truth. Like, is Brian Rizzy, is he starting on the defensive line of Georgia? I don't think so. And we're winning games. We're not winning games. We're in games. We're competitive in games with this. You know, so that's kind of crazy.
I think you run your whole process in the coaching search. And if you're asking me my preference, like, yeah, I want to see something different. Like, but I do think that Rizzy, as far as, you know, there's going to be 5-6 people that interview for it. I think he, as of today, like, I think he's making a really good candidacy.
Yeah.
Like on Monday night, he could go out and get smoked by 28 points, and that's all, you know, up in smoke very, very quickly. And the good vibes might be gone. But I think as far as what he's working with, like, he's doing a pretty good job so far.
Yeah,
and I think that's worth acknowledging. That doesn't mean you just stick with them. You don't run your process.
Yeah, I think you do interview people, but I think it's going to take one hell of an interview. Like, the thing is now, what happens with teams is that when they're desperate for a coach and they don't have a coach, that's how you end up with Ron Rivera. That's how you end up with Doug Peterson. That's how you end up with Mike McCarthy. And you just go to this retread coach world. When you've got some leverage and you can say, well, worst case scenario, we just run it back with Rizzy. That is way better than one of these retread coaches. Now, if a superstar candidate comes in and Ben Johnson or Joe Brady or Mike Vrabel comes in and you're like, damn, this is it. This is it right here. Then, yeah, whatever. But the Saints aren't in that desperation mode where all of a sudden it's like, yeah, the Saints just hired Matt Eberflus. You know, like that's not going to happen.
Says, I think you need to learn from the mistakes the last time where it was like you decided before you ever interviewed anyone who you were probably hiring. But I think he's done a commendable job. And no matter where you fall on that, like, I think that should be like a universal agreed upon opinion right now.
Yeah.
That he's done a very good job in this role so far to this point.
Yeah.
It's a very, very salient point there. They're like, yes, like maybe you don't agree that you want him to get the job, even though I think it is interesting as a bridge guy with so many flaws, but whatever. But like, yes, he's like, objectively, we can all agree he's done really solid in very tough circumstances.
Yeah.
Derek Carr is not playing Monday night, so it'll be Rattler.
Oh, it just came out?
I just got a text about it. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. So it's breaking news.
Yeah. Breaking news in the snow. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, Nick. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go, dude. Wow, just
there it is. Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Talked about a lot of stuff in there. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.